Okay, take 1, episode 2.
My dad didn't like how balangi we were. And two is
So
my
send you to Tonga.
send us to Tonga for a while, and
How did you come to Christ and the choices that you made in life?
I was afraid of death. I was afraid that my life meant nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I couldn't deny that there was a God, and I'd done wrong.
Yeah,
And I sat up in my room and I said, God, if you take me, you know what, I'll give you everything. I'll follow.
wow.
I've tried to live my way, and
Yeah.
it's given me nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've tried to take all I can, and I'm left with nothing.
Yeah,
The great thing about, you know, this Christian journey is that as you mature more and more in your faith, you come to more understanding of what God's doing. I just decided I'm going to live my life for God now. He heard me, and He's going to and I trust He's going to come through. I have a song called Every Day, and there's a verse in there that I wrote. It was based off Psalm 103.
right.
What's thus that the Maker would remember my name? I was disgusting still. He remembered my frame. And that's
No, that's she wants to
One of your songs I love, White Flag.
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I love that song. And the lyrics, excuse me if I get this wrong,
Sure,
I
sure.
was trying to...
She actually wants to rap it.
No, no, that's sinning.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Izzy and Maria show. I've got my co-host here, my beautiful wife, and today we've got someone that I really admire, love his music, but through his music he obviously shares the message of the gospel and what God's done for him, and I look forward to the conversations that we have today, and no other than Senny, also known as TYJ. Thanks for coming on and having a chat with us, bro.
Yeah. No worries. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll just start from the start. You obviously, you were, if I'm right, you were born in Brisbane?
Yeah, that's right. My family originally migrated from Tonga to Sydney, my mum's family, and then migrated up here to Brisbane. I was born here in 98. I don't know, grew up here.
Don't say 98. You're making us feel so old.
Well, I was,
So young.
yeah, well, I don't know. Raised in south side of Brisbane, so Logan, up until I was about 13, and then we moved to Tonga, where I spent most of my high school years, or all of my high school years, pretty much. So.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Your whole family moved
Yeah,
there?
so my whole family moved. We lived in Australia most of our life, and two things. My dad didn't like how balangi we were. And two is
So
my
send you to Tonga.
send us to Tonga for a while, and two, my grandparents were sick, so we sort of moved over there to spend time with them. And so I was there for 5 years. My siblings, my other sisters, were there for 6 or 7 years, and then came back in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so yeah, bit of both. So crazy thing is, I went to Tonga and thought I was Tongan until you moved to Tonga.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's like when you're in Australia, you're proud to be Tongan, and then when you're in Tonga, you're
It's not
proud to
until
be
you
Australian.
go, yeah.
Totally.
And how was that? Like, because you obviously went to school and all that in Tonga.
Yeah,
How'd
so-
you find that?
That was hard at first. I mean, like I came from Australia thinking with a bit of a chip on my shoulder, and went to Tonga. Couldn't speak any Tongan. Me and my siblings could understand Tongan.
Yeah,
So
but couldn't speak it.
Yeah, my parents and my grandparents
right.
would speak Tongan to us, and we'd reply
Yeah.
in English, and so that's sort of the way that we grew up, and we could only understand Tongan, but
Yeah,
couldn't
right.
put most sentences together. And I don't know, you go to Tonga, you go into school, and you feel embarrassed to speak English because all the kids, you know, like they sort of make
Yeah.
fun of you and stuff, and butchered the language for like a year until I finally figured it out. And
So you're fluent now?
no, I wouldn't say fluent, but yeah, I can navigate
hold-
myself for a conversation or something. But yeah, it was rough first year, but
Yeah.
we were there for 5 and came back from Tonga. My cousins told me that I was fresh as couldn't had an accent and everything. But
That's cool. So would you ever rap in Tongan as well? Like, would that ever be an option?
I don't know. Like I try to put like certain like I put words in here and there in some of my songs and stuff, and that's something that is something unique. You know, we have like our culture is very poetic in some of the songs that, and Polynesian culture in general, like some of the music, and so that's unique to the world. And we can there's like this. I try to put different words in there, but I don't know. I don't think I can sit down and put a song together in Tongan. But
Right. And talking about your music and that, when did you sort of discover that you had the gift or the talent to rap or to, you know, in terms of music?
I'd say the music part we sort of grew up with. My mum from an early age sort of taught us songs, like we would sing. Like I have 6 sisters, so my mum had 7 kids, my 6 sisters and myself, and even from a young age she sort of just sat us down. She'd sit down and we'd sit in front and she'd have a long stick. Sort of
like a typical Polynesian
gosh, we've all
family,
been there.
And it'll be like she'd give us parts, but it was great. Like, you know, we learned how to sing, we learned how to harmonise and all these, and just picked up a love for music. But in terms of the rapping and stuff, it wasn't until I don't know, a few years or maybe the year before I got saved to sort of try to hand at it. And I think 2019, 18, 19, 20, like a huge rap scene sort of popped off, like, you know, amongst the Polynesians. And at that time, you know, you could put anything together and people would sort of push it, you know. And I don't know, I used to just mess around at parties and stuff, and people would ask me to rap, or I'd put something together and we'd put a beat on. But I guess I never really had something worth writing for. It was just all things to mess around. You rap about yourself and money and partying.
It's all
and stuff.
meaningless.
So tell us about your testimony as such. Like how did you come to Christ, and the choices that you made in life beforehand? What made you come to see the Lord?
Christian family. So mum has been a devout Christian since before we were born, but my dad's a non-believer, so my dad's not a Christian.
Wow.
So we spent most of our life here in Brisbane, and my mum brought us up in the ways of Christ, and, you know, taught us verses to memorise songs and stuff. But I'd say I grew distant from that from the years we moved to Tonga. I don't know, we moved to Tonga, you know, just a young teen trying to figure out what's what, you know, how to be a man and what's important. And I don't know, I moved to Tonga and all those things sort of just, like, there's a huge culture shift for me.
Especially being so young.
And like Tonga's a unforgiving place for a young teen, like for a young teen
trying
boy.
to find his way, you know.
So, you know, you sort of adapt to the culture, and my dad would party a lot and stuff, and we'd see a lot of that in my family. And you just sort of grow up in that, you know, and you sort of think, oh, this is a way, and people praise that. So, you know, I sort of I sort of forsook the Christian faith, and I don't know. It's just it became one of those things that you inherit, you know, as a Tongan or Polynesian. Christianity tends to be one of those things that you know, it's given to you. You're born with it. I don't know, 10 years, heavy drinking and drug abuse, and ended up getting expelled from high school in Tonga, kicked out, and went to another school, and my parents didn't want me in Tonga anymore, so sent me back to Oz. Came back here to Brisbane and finished high school, and then Australia is one of those places, plenty of opportunity, but also lots of opportunity to go the other way, I guess. You know? So there's more drugs here, more clubs, more parties, and so I spent years in that sort of cycle. And I don't know, like you love the parties and stuff, but the sun comes up and goes down, and it's the next day, you know, like, you know,
and then you're on your own, and you're thinking, oh, man,
and that's what I
feel
found
good about that. You know?
That's what I found the most. Like, you know, you'd be on benders or for days at a time, you drink and party, and everything you think you want, and then like the party ends, people go home, you know, and I used to be the one who sits there and trying to egg everyone on to keep going and stuff. But like people go, the next day comes, and like you're left with, like, I had a huge sense of just meaninglessness in my life. This is around the COVID time.
Right. That's crazy, man.
So I don't know, like one thing led to another. I ended up back at my mum's place, knocking on the door, and I said, "Hey, I need a place to stay. I'll be here for a while if they'll spot me." And my mum, you know, I never kicked you out, son. Your room's still here, like, you know. So spent some time at my mum's place, and this is during the lockdown periods. Wow. You can't go out and stuff. But you know, I'd leave, I'd come back, I'd leave, come back. But something changed. Like something changed in my house while I was gone. So I was gone for say 3 or 4 years. And during that time, God had done something in my mum's life and my sister's life. Something changed. Like my mum had a sense that if she didn't do something, she'd lose her kids forever. Like, you know, like that this life would end, and she would have to answer. Like, she'd answer to God, and God would say, "What did you do for the kids?" Yeah. So she sat, like, I came back and I noticed something, like, you know, they'd sit together every night and just read. And they didn't know how to study the Bible, or, you know, they didn't know all these fancy doctrines and all these other things, but they'd just sit there and read, like one chapter of every book each night or something, and they'd go in circles. And I'd leave, I'd come back, I can hear them singing. But I noticed, like, I could see something different in their lives. You know, there was purpose there. Yeah. You know, there was a love there that wasn't there before. There was a sense that you know, God was present in their lives. Something like I'd never seen before. Like all my life, I'd experienced a sort of religion that that Tongans have. You know, and I don't know. I'd sit up some nights while I hear them upstairs singing at home, and they'd sing songs that my mum taught us when we were kids. You know, like songs that I hadn't heard for years. Like. My mum loves, there's an old Southern Baptist band called the Gaithers. And there's a song there, "Come ye sinners, lost and lonely, Jesus' blood can set you free. For he saved the worst among you when he saved the wretch like me." And they'd sing songs like this, like each night. And I couldn't deny that, you know, that I was afraid of death. I was afraid that my life meant nothing. Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't deny that there was a God, and I'd done wrong. Yeah. And you know, I didn't know how to pray. This is probably the first time I ever prayed sincerely in my life. And I sat up in my room, and I said, "God, if you take me, you know, I'll give you everything. I'll follow." Wow. You know, I've tried to live my way, and it's given me nothing. Like, you know, I've tried to take all I can, and I'm left with nothing. And I don't know, man, I went to sleep that night. I woke up the same way. Like, I didn't have a huge revelation from heaven or anything, but I went to sleep that night. I woke up the next day just like I usually do. But I remembered that the promise I made to God, and I trusted that he heard me and he was going to make a difference. So that was I just decided I'm going to live my life for God now. He heard me, and he's going to make, and I trust he's going to come through. I trust that he's given me a clean slate, and he's going to show me how to live. And so I didn't say anything to my sisters or my mum, but I just slowly tried to live my life a little bit differently, trusting in God to sort of lead me. And you know, one of the first things I realized is that, you know, I didn't want to speak the same way. I didn't want to listen to certain things. Music. I didn't want to watch certain things. And it's there's a verse in the Bible says to make a covenant with your eyes. You know, I'll let no clean thing pass before my eyes. And these are the sort of things that I'm getting. I'm not reading any scripture or anything, but I'm like, God is a good God. He's pure. He's holy. These things, you know, are not of him, and I won't partake in it. So I stopped watching certain movies. I stopped listening to certain things. And I remember the night that I truly knew that God had taken me in, and he'd accepted me and he'd saved me. I picked up the phone and I messaged everyone I knew. I messaged my boys, on WhatsApp, in the WhatsApp group. I said, "Boys, I've decided to follow Jesus. You know, I'm giving him my life, and and I hope you can understand. I hope you can one day have this, you know." And they're very understanding, you know. And ended up coming to my baptism and everything. Over the course of, I don't know, say weeks, my life just changed. Like, God, there's the prophet Ezekiel says in Ezekiel 36, 26, that I shall give them a new heart and a new spirit. And John 3 talks about this born again experience. And that's what God gave me. You know, He gave me a new heart. He gave me a new spirit. He gave me new desires, new affections, like all these. And it was crazy. I didn't know what else to do, and you know, that later on led to me writing about it. And but you know, still that's 4 years ago. It feels like a long time ago, and I was still a baby, you know. So,
man.
So,
I'm blown away.
That's unreal. That's what an unreal testimony. I think, you know, your mother doing what she did, making sure that you were all, you lived in a home where God was present, and I'm sure it wasn't, you know, easy for her, because I'm sure she had her own struggles. But first and foremost was just making sure that her kids were in the Lord, and you know, I guess that's the most important thing as a mother. And for me, that gives me inspiration for my children, our children as well. I mean, we do as much as we can, but 6 children, and having to do that amongst everything else that's happening, you know, in her life. That's man. I admire that big time, because you know, I look back to my old life. You know, I used to go out a lot too, and like you said, I can resonate with your testimony. You know, you fill yourself up with, you know, going out clubbing. You know, you're going on 3-day benders. You know, you do all that stuff to try and fill that void that's on the inside. But at the end of the day, everyone leaves, like you said, and you're left on your own. You know what I mean? And I remember coming home certain nights, and my mum's still up. You know what I mean? She's still up, like, because she was like, you know, praying that I'd come home safe. You know what I mean?
My mum's my biggest fan. Like,
I love that, man.
Shout out to Mum.
I wrote the first song. I remember I recorded and everything. Came back, I showed her. I said, "Mum, like, you know, I see this song I wrote," and I played it, and she, like, you know, she's tearing up and crying. She's like, "Son, you know, I can't stand rap music, but, you know, but I love it." Yeah, she's like,
okay.
"I love this song," you know. But that's just mum, you know. Like, ever since I can remember, just teaching us how to pray. And sure, mum falls short in some places and stuff. But you know, God's, like, I look back on God's sovereignty and the way that He's kept her faithful in order to sort of bring us to faith.
Yeah.
There's things that she, like, sort of persevered through. I went through my. I haven't had Facebook for ages. That's one of the things I got rid of. I just cleaned house. But I went back on my messenger, and I looked at my messages with mum, and they're just prayer after prayer after prayer. Wow. And it's like days I'd be missing, and she's like, "Son, where are you? You know, I'm praying for you. You know, there's still, like, there's hope for you. Like, you know, God loves you. Come home," and like all these, like, all these sort of things. Like, I have them on my phone. I was looking through them before, but they, you know, I can look back at these things and be like, mum never wavered. Like, you know. So,
oh man, I find that amazing. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, you know, that it was your mother alone and her faith that she had in God to really trust in Him to do the work in you. You know what I mean? And we spoke last week. We had Samu Krevi on, and you know, someone he looks up to is his grandpa, who raised him. You know what I mean? And the reason why I bring this up is because the impact that his grandfather had on him, and not only him but his rest of his siblings, of just being faithful to God to sort of lead them and direct them, you know, and you know, brought through these actions, sort of brought a lot of his family members to the Lord, you know what I mean? So I think it's a good example of you know, just the impact someone can have when, you know, when they're faithful and walking in the way that God has called them. You know,
that's what my mother came to faith because of my grandmother. So not her own mum, but my father's. So my dad's mum was an evangelist, preached, taught in the prisons, spoke on radio, went to Bible college, and when we lived in Tonga, I went to Tonga and saw all of this. Like, she'd be on the radio, people would come, she'd run Bible studies and stuff. And after I became a Christian, like, I remember, like, you have this whole example of faithful, godly people throughout your life. And though you're not a Christian, from the moment that God sort of wakes you up, it's like you've had you've seen it, you know, you become
reminds
what you
of all these people in your life.
And like all the things that mum had taught me and all the things my grandma had sort of taught me all sort of come flooding back, and everything makes sense finally, you know. And so God's been faithful in that sense, and you know, just always sort of kept the remnant there, you know, even through like some tough times and stuff, but you know.
So what's it been like with your friends? You know, because as we all know, becoming a Christian and claiming that you're going to follow God and give your life to Christ, it's always, you know, the feeling isn't always reciprocal, but were they supportive? Obviously, they came to your baptism, but what was that instance like when you told them, because you know, drinking, partying, all that sort of stuff,
Everything
and then
changed,
now it's like
lifestyle.
you're just a different person.
So like it starts in the messages, and I don't know if people took me seriously or not. Like, because it's crazy. Like people, like from people who knew me, or like they think I'm crazy, or they think I'm joking or something. So I don't like off that initial message. I don't know what the response was.
We've all had that.
But I would follow it up. You know, I disappeared for like 3-4 months off socials. And then came back online, and I was posting different things, you know, sharing different things, and so I think then people sort of started to get the sense of,
he's not putting it on.
and I'm not showing up to the clubs anymore. And people are like, where's Sandy? Like everyone's asking and stuff. And
where's the fire starter?
and it's like, and like, but they were kind, you know, they were receptive, and they've always respected me in that sense. Like if I was going to do something, they support me, and I think deep down everyone knows that's a good path to take.
Oh, absolutely.
The boys, like people know, like no matter, like especially like if you're raised in a Polynesian household, like whatever your view is, people know that God's not a bad path to take, you know. So they were supportive, and you know, I just would share with them every now and then, like what's the difference, or what's happened, and you know, they would still come over. They came to my baptism. They've just come to my wedding. But you know, as it is, like, because we don't share the same interests and stuff, obviously we grow a little bit distant. Like we won't go to the same things, and we've grown a little bit more distance than I would have liked. You know, now, even though they came to my wedding, but I'd still like to catch up with them, because you still want to be a witness to those to those around you. But like there hasn't been any. No one sort of rejected me. There's little jokes here and there. People call me a pastor, or you know, or they'll swear and they'll sort of sorry.
We've experienced that a lot.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, but you know, like you just got to be a light where you are, and
absolutely.
I know that they mean the best, but
yeah. Would you say that would be like one of your most significant challenges becoming a Christian rapper? Obviously with your friends, but also in the industry or people that you meet. Would that be a challenge for you? You're living a different life, obviously, but being in the music industry, being a Christian rapper, like, are those the type of challenges that you face, or what would be the other significant challenges that you face as a Christian rapper as such?
I don't know. There's always the temptation to do what's in, I guess. I don't know. Like I'm not famous or anything, but like it's like, but I think that there's a temptation to
go with that culture.
There's a temptation to sort of go with the culture, or try to do what's in, or compromise truth for the artistry. You know, but. Yeah, I don't know if that's that's answering the question.
100%. It's sort of, you know, we're sort of the same as athletes, professional athletes. You know, we're in an environment where, obviously as Christians, but we're faced with different challenges. You know, and it's like you said.
In the sporting realm.
In the sporting realm, you can almost fall into that culture. You know, and it's we talk about our old life. We've already tasted, the flesh has already tasted the things that it enjoyed, you know, like, you know, going on benders and alcohol, drugs and all that sort of stuff. And that's the challenge we find ourselves in. Yeah. It's like, you can go because that's the culture in the sporting environment. It's like, you know, everyone does that, you know, and it's like the norm. So you are faced with that constantly on, holding and being that light and standing in the truth, or falling into that, and that's something that I guess we face a lot.
Yeah.
But anyways, off that, I just want to go back to your time in Tonga in relation to the church and stuff like that. Because with the Polynesian, I find a lot of the, everyone goes. A lot of the Polynesians go to church. That's what most kids do. They grow up in the church. But a lot of their stuff, they mix culture and tradition. For example, the Tongan stuff with biblical stuff. And that's a big clash, I find. Your time in Tonga, how'd you find that?
So there's a massive, like I said, Christianity is inherited. It's part of the religion. I remember, like in Tonga, I'd be partying with boys on the Saturday, and we're in the, we're there. I'm sitting next to him on the Sunday, or I'm in there with him, and then we're outside the back, smoking a joint or something.
Exactly.
But like it, I don't know. Like it was. Church is closed on. I mean, everything's closed on Sunday. Stores, everything's closed on Sunday. So it's just expected. Like it's routine. Like everyone, and so that's what I sort of struggled with when I was there. Is like you're not really given there was no big emphasis. And like, don't get me wrong, my mum and my grandma still trying to teach me, but just sort of sway. Like I don't know what else, but
because I like with my experience with in terms of the church and what I find with Polynesians is they, what I've come across is a lot of guys, like you said, we go out on Saturday and get wasted, and then as long as we make it to church on Sunday, we're at the back with sunnies on, or the hat, we are half asleep, and like as the mindset is, as long as I got to church, I'm good, And to me, it's like a lot of that's what I call religion. It's not there's no meaning from the heart. And that's what I find with a lot of our people is that they're still caught up in that. In that sort of mindset of as long as I went to church, I'm good. I'm good with God. But at the end of the day, there's no personal relationship with you and the Lord. And that's I guess that's something that I have a heart for. Not only our people, but just Christians in general, because you can grow up that way, and think that you're all good.
I used to be like that at school. Like they'd tell you, like go to church. That's the answer.
Exactly.
Like church is going to save anyone, and like 100%. That's the massive difference. It's there's a difference between a religious institution and a life renewing relationship with God. And I think a lot of us are just sort of born in that sort of system, and everyone's stuck in that system. It's hard to get out of that system. Any sort of critique of the system is like hate.
Exactly. Don't question that.
Or like just you do you, and I'll sort of keep to myself. But I've 100% experienced that. My sisters are actually in Tonga right now, so they're there.
Do they live there?
No, so they've just gone over. So my family have become Christian evangelicals, Bible believing, gospel believing Christians, because missionaries came from New Zealand in the 70s and planted a church right across from our house in our village.
Oh wow!
My grandma was converted. My next door neighbour was trained, and he's now the pastor. But for 50 years now, they've been sort of reaching out and preaching and evangelizing the villages there in Tonga. So my sisters are there to sort of celebrate that. But even in a evangelical church, like that's sort of that cultural system is still there. That sort of and I suppose it's not just in Tonga. Like I suppose it's everywhere.
Samoa and all the islands.
But 100%. It's by no means like no hate against people who's
absolutely.
But it is a dangerous sort of thing to sort of do, and
that's one thing about your music, and this is why I think it might have been your first song. Never would have made it. I love that song, and I love the lyrics because going back to your testimony, like when I listen obviously to the lyrics, I can resonate. I can relate to that. And you talk about looking. you know, I've been on benders and that. You know, you get on the coke and you do all that sort of stuff to get a high. You know what I mean? And man, it's like when you encounter Jesus, that high, you can't compare that high to what you used to experience. You know what I mean? And that's something, man. I'll always be thankful to God because you know, I've played professional sport since I was 17, and the same with my wife. And you know, like I said before, you're in an environment that's, you know, it's worldly. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. And we got caught up in that, and you indulge in that, and you do it for years and years until you get to a point where, man, you just feel so empty. You know, it just drags you down a road where you hit a dead end, and that's the point I got to. And man, you know, you talk about lyrics, you know, that you remember from a song that your mum used to, you know, sing. Man, I got saved at my auntie and uncle's church, you know, and I hadn't been. So my upbringing is I grew up as a Mormon, and then we left the Mormon church, you know, back in 2009, and I hadn't gone to church since then. I didn't go to church for about I would say 3 years. So I went 3 years of just getting loose, you know what I mean, like go crazy and do whatever I want. And during that period, I got to a point where I just felt worse, you know, went from bad to worse. And for the first time, you know, my parents goes, oh, let's, you know, how about we go to church here at my auntie and uncle's church? And I said, oh, yeah, I'll just go, you know, I'll try it out, you know, whatever. We started singing worship, and they sang the song At the Cross.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And I was just, I remember looking at the lyrics and singing it, and just realizing, and I know it was the work of the Holy Ghost. It just hit me, you know what I mean? Realizing then, that was the only time I realized that all the things that I had done, you know, all the drugs, all the, you know, drinking that, I realized that Jesus died on the cross for the things that I had done. And I just couldn't stop bawling my eyes out. I was just like, I couldn't control myself, you know? And it was like a feeling that was like better than anything I've ever experienced, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, and I look back, and I guess you know, in relation to your song, I love it because I can relate to it. And a lot of people that will listen to this episode, that, you know, they'd be, whether they're thinking about the Lord, you know, or, you know, whatever God's doing in their working in them, man, I believe they can resonate and relate to this. You know?
Yeah, I think that, like, for a good solid 2 months, I'd say, like, before I got saved, it was like, I don't know, like, it's like you're just I was just extremely discontent. Like, like I would go, like, you drink, you don't get drunk anymore. Like, you know,
Past that point.
like you're popping pills, you're doing lines and everything, but you're just numb, like nothing. And I would, like, even I'd go to parties, sit there, and like some of the boys would say, what's wrong with you? Like, because I'm not like rowdy or anything. I just sit there and then like go to sleep. But like I truly believe at that time, like God had his hand on me.
Yeah.
You know, and like I would just pass out, wake up, and you're just in this discontent state, like that. And I was, one of the main things that just troubled me, used to haunt me. I was like, this is it. Like, this is my life. Yeah. Like, this is it for the rest of my life. This is everything that you wanted, and that's it. And the day is gonna come. Your time is up, and your name is just gonna be on a tombstone. That's it. Right. I said, that can't be it. You know, and the biggest thing for me when I got saved is that I found that I understood that there was purpose and meaning for my life. God's created me in His image, and He's given me everything I need to know Him, to be in relationship with Him. He's given me a mind to think. He's given me the capacity to love. He's given me all these different things that we have, and we sort of abuse. We abuse it in different ways. And I don't know. From the moment I realized, I said, I'm made for God. Like, God created me. Yeah. Therefore, I have a purpose, and you know, He's going to show me what this is throughout, you know, on this journey. So, like 100%, like some of the lyrics in my first song. Yeah. Like, I had no biblical knowledge. Like, I didn't. Yeah. But for some, like, all these things that my mum had taught me, like, just come flooding through about things about grace and faith, things about the cross. this is the way to salvation. Things about dying to self,
Yeah.
giving yourself up and putting your trust in Christ. Like these are fundamental things that, when I got saved, just suddenly, makes sense. And so I just put it to paper. Actually, how I wrote that song, Never Would Have Made It is a Marvin Sapp gospel song.
Oh, right.
So I was working night shift one night, and got saved, and I would just listen to gospel tracks on repeat and on shuffle, and then I come across this song. It just plays. I've never heard it before, and it comes on. Never Would Have Made It. Never would have made. And it comes on, and I just stopped like in the middle of the warehouse, and I thought, what is this song? Yeah. And it just spoke to me like right there, maybe like the experience that you had. But it spoke to me, and just from there, I wrote that whole song. I'm working night shift, I'm walking around just singing, never would have made it, too caught up, I was impatient. When you said trust, I was afraid. And these things just sort of came through. And it led to never would have made it. It was one song. I wasn't even going to release the song.
You weren't?
I was just going to make the song and
just leave it.
Yeah, and like that was my song, you know, and maybe show my kids one day or something, and they'll probably laugh at me. But my producer convinced me. He's like, "Hey, release it. People deserve to hear this." Like so that led to one song, and then I wasn't going to make any more music.
Oh wow!
And again, producer sort of came to me, and he convinced me to keep going, keep doing this. And my brother was sort of encouraging me as well.
That's crazy.
So it's become a ministry now.
I think it's beautiful. One of your songs, I love, White Flag.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I love that song. And the lyrics, excuse me if I get this wrong, I was putting it on loudspeaker and trying to, because you rap quite fast, so I was trying to.
She actually wants to rap it.
No, that's sinning. I was dead when he gave me life on that cross when he paid it all. Took all my sin and copped it. They beat him and they mocked him. They killed him on a Friday. By Sunday, he was walking. Yeah. I take this home to the bank, trust, praise, I'm not sure. The Lord, when I wake up, spent my life in a pit. Now my life is a dust of glory. Yep. Absolutely love that.
Yeah. That was one of my more recent songs.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you read that out.
It was this morning. I mean, I've listened to that song multiple times, but that verse, well, I wouldn't say, would that be a verse? Would you call that a verse? Yeah, resonates with me big time. And I love, like, they beat him and mocked him. They killed him on a Friday. By Sunday, he was walking. Yeah. I mean, the resurrection, I mean, we can all... Yeah, we won't go into that, but it's just a beautiful. Like I listen to it and I think, what was your like your creative process or your thought process, like as an artist? Because as sports people, we know what we do to train and get certain better routines. And certain routines and stuff. Sure. What's yours?
Sure. So I like mine. There's songs like Never Would Have Made It, which would have come straight from like just a testimony of what God was doing in my life at the time. But the great thing about this Christian journey is that as you mature more and more in your faith, you come to more understanding of what God's doing. Yeah. And so it's like the older we get in this Christian faith, the bigger God becomes, and we see things in our Christian journey. So those things sort of I tend to write about throughout, but I usually start in a verse. So it depends on what I'm reading. I have a song called Every Day. And there's a verse in there that I wrote. It was based off Psalm 103. Right. What's dust that the Maker would remember my name? I was disgusting still. He remembered my frame. And that's
she wants it.
But like Psalm 103 is just that. What's dust that the Maker would?
Of course.
And so I would, if I'm reading a verse, I'll sort of write off the back of that.
Right.
But generally that's the process. Lately I haven't been able to. I've only just started to get back into writing.
Right.
Because I'm studying at Bible college. It takes all of my creative writing.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so you what Bible college are you at?
So I go
at
to
the moment.
Brisbane School of Theology in
nice.
in Toonga. And so I started there. I'm 2 years in. I've got another 2 years to finish my degree, and then I'll sort of look into a full-time ministry or something. But like if like I'm writing essays and you're reading a lot, and it's kind of, it takes all of your creative energy, like. And I found that, I took time off to get married, and it's been, I've had a time away from Bible college. The lyrics are coming out,
It's coming back,
So like
you got the energy and the creativity to bring that back.
Like even on the way here, like most of my writing occurs in, I've got to be moving. Like I can't sit still. Like if I'm still, the thinking stops.
Right.
And so like I've got to be walking, or I've got to be driving, or I've got So even on the way here, had a track playing and just sort of trying to come up with certain things. But I'm hoping to sort of get back in and do a little bit more new music and stuff.
So what's the ultimate goal? Like you're at Bible Theology College.
Yep.
Would you be doing both, like in the future, or starting up the ministry and leaving rapping aside? Like what's the goal for you?
The goal, like I went to Bible college. I had no intention of saying becoming a pastor. I had preconceived ideas of what a pastor was. Like in our culture, they get the best tables, and they get. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. Like I just want to know more about God, and I want to serve. But I've since then I've launched a youth ministry at church, and
awesome.
There's something about seeing people grow in their faith. There's something about teaching the Word of God, and seeing people grow more into the image of Christ. You see it along the discipleship process. There's nothing more honourable than that for me. And so that's the goal for me. And I met my lovely wife at Bible college.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
And we're both on the same track. We want a church plant. We want to do international missions. She's done a few missions in Africa and the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
And, that's something that we're passionate about. But right now, we serve God as faithfully as we can where we are. I'm part of a local church. I serve God as faithfully as I can where I am. So I help out. I run the youth ministry. I preach a few times a year. Even the music, like people ask me, like, you must love rap music, and it's just something I can do, it's not me, like it's not who I am.
It doesn't define you.
Like I'm a Christian, but I can rap, and so therefore I'll use it for God's glory. And so whether God intends for me to sort of use this in this time frame of my life, and then move on to something else maybe I'll use it further down the track. But that's the ultimate goal for me, is to see souls saved, matured in Christ, and discipled for him. That's become the vision, and my wife, I'm blessed to have a wife that's sort of on the same track. And we met 2 years ago. We got married 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
So,
that's amazing, man. That's something we actually spoke about this morning. Just like you said, bro, the importance of just. There's nothing else better than seeing people come to the Lord, and like you said, discipling them, and being able to be part of that process. Nothing else fills you, what I mean? And we were talking about that. You can almost get caught up in everyday life. We've got 2 young kids. We're obviously athletes, and we're working on other stuff that God's gifted us with, but nothing else fills us unless we've dedicated that time to God and being in His Word. That's the best part of our day, really, and we look forward to that. And that's, like you said, bro. I think that's what your soul yearns for, Because, like you said, we were created in God's image, and we were made for His purpose. And if you're doing something else to try and fill that, you just won't ever find that, you know, to find that void, So that's something that's quite important.
No, and it's like I did the same with Samuel as well. Like I Wikipedia'd Samuel and I Wikipedia'd you, and there's not much about you online, which is, a testament to you. And in terms of, trying to figure out how we were going to do this interview, it was like, right, we're starting from a clean slate. And it's just so amazing how genuine and true your testimony is to God. You know, only you can speak on your experiences, and I know that the viewers that are watching this podcast are thinking, wow, I'm stuck in a rut, but I know that my God, and I know that there's a God, I know that there's a higher power, and I know that in terms of filling that void and taking away that emptiness, only God can give me. So to hear about your experiences, your life, how you started, where you are now, and where you're going to, man, I'm blown away. So, to have you here, thank you for your time. Thank you for,
appreciate it.
We feel like God's put people in place. We started this only a few weeks ago.
We started this a couple of weeks ago. Like we told you, we have no idea, you know, but we're trusting God. We know that, you know, we know that God's put on our heart to do it. And to start this up, mainly for the reason of, you know, talking about our testimonies, sharing that journey and what God's done for us. So we're just trusting Him to take this forward, you know.
Thank you for your time, TYJ.
Oh, no worries.
Appreciate it.
Cut. Holy moly, that was so good.